Hello, welcome. Carrie here from Homestead How and the Carnivore Diet movie, along with my friend Todd from the Carnivore Cure. How's it going, Todd?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be on, man. I always enjoy talking with you.
Yeah, likewise. So Todd and I have already met. If you guys are familiar, we did the 24-hour live stream together. I was just telling Todd that was wonderful. I got kind of an abbreviated version of his story, and I wanted to hear more. Todd was just on with Dr. Baker, and they did an awesome video together. I have a link for Todd's channel below. I love what you're doing, Todd. Anyone that's watching from my channel, I definitely recommend go check out Todd at the Carnivore Cure. Go over, subscribe, give him some love. He's doing some really good things. I want to talk about that a little bit more today. I was hoping maybe, Todd, you could share a little bit of how you found carnivore and your story. I know you've told this story a couple times, but we've always got new people jumping on the channel here.
Oh,
So
for
yeah, I
sure.
was hoping maybe we could start there.
Yeah, absolutely. I found carnivore by an accident. Actually, I found keto diets by accident, but I was on a series of failed elimination or failed calorie restrictive diets, sad diets, that I'd been on since I was a kid because I was this big my whole life. When I was 14, I weighed 600 pounds, and so I just was fighting it my whole, as a kid all the way up through my whole adult life. It was just a series of dietitians and, and calorie restrictive diets that didn't work, and just recommendations to get bariatric surgery. But I never wanted to do that because my mom had gastric bypass and it failed, and my sister has lap band and it failed. And so I knew that that wasn't the magic pill everybody was saying it was, or at least not for us. So, um, yeah, and I was on these diets, and I'd always get frustrated with them because they were just maddening. I was always hungry. I was always low on energy. It was all willpower every time, white knuckling it the whole way. And so I'd always revert back to just a starvation diet. Basically, it was easier not to eat than it was to try to manage and control how many carbs I was, or how many calories I was going to eat a day when I was still eating carbs. It was insane. But so I was doing that, and I was on this weightlifter diet, high protein, low fat diet, moderate carbohydrate, and I'd been on it for 14 months, and it was the worst diet I ever been on in my life. I was the most depressed I'd ever been in my life that time too, and I was just fighting this depression, anxiety, and I was about to fall off the wagon for the umpteenth million time. And I looked up. I looked up how to not make. I was eating so much dried chicken breast. I looked up how to not make it dry. I was trying to figure out how to cook chicken not dry and tasteless, and it came up sous vide cooking was the best way to cook chicken. So I looked up that, and I was watching this YouTube channel of sous vide everything, and they were sous videing these ribeyes seared in butter. And I'd been eating dried chicken for 14 months. So I was just drooling watching this channel of these guys cooking these delicious ribeyes seared in butter. So I ordered that machine, and long story short, when I got here, I was like, before I go to back to fried chicken purgatory, I'm gonna have a ribeye one time. And so, but I ate this ribeye seared in butter, and I ended up doing it for 4 days actually, because I bought a pack of four from Costco, four ribeyes, and I decided that if I just had one meal and it was just a ribeye seared in butter, it's kind of still fit in my calorie count for the day, compared to my old high protein weightlifter diet. And it was crazy. Just in that 4 days of eating ribeyes, my depression lifted. I felt great. I lost 9 pounds in 4 days. Like my knees stopped hurting so bad. Like I accidentally went into ketosis, didn't even know what it was, and it just blew my mind. And I finally Googled it. I'm like, why is eating ribeye seared in butter making me feel so good and lose weight? Like, what is this? And that was first time I heard about the ketogenic diet. That's what came up on Google, and I jumped in.
Nice. So you started with keto. How did keto go for you? Because similar to you, I started with keto also, and I loved it at first. But
Right?
I lost a bunch of weight, I gained it all back, and then I did that about 20 times, I think, throughout maybe 10 years. How'd it
Yeah,
go for you?
I did that exact same thing for 2 years. Sadly, when I Googled why I was feeling good on ribeyes and butter, if it would have taken me to carnivore, you'd be looking at a skinny man right now.
Yes. Yeah,
But
hey, you know, we joke about it too. I'm the same way, like, when people ask for recommendations too, they're always like, "Oh, Carrie, you would have lost all this weight if you would have just ate plants, or you would have just done this," and I'm like, I kinda joke with him, like, it is kinda serious too, 'cause I feel the same way you do. If I would have found carnivore when I found keto, man, what a different life both of us would be sitting. I don't, maybe we wouldn't be sitting here, but I don't know, but yeah,
yeah.
10 years ago, I would have lost all the weight, but
Oh, seriously. And this was just in, trying to think when that was, like 2019 when that happened. But unfortunately I found keto, and that spiraled me out on these keto processed junk crap
yeah.
products, like fat bombs and like the Atkins peanut butter cups and
Yep.
protein bars and all this stuff. And all it was doing is I was trying to eat my old addictive diet but make it a keto version of it. And I down like 2+ years of that stupid roller coaster.
Todd,
And
dude, I hear you 100%. Man, when I first started keto, it was like 10 years ago, and it was natural. Like, I was eating steak, and I was eating burger patties and bacon. I lost a whole bunch of weight, but that's the problem with keto now. There's just so many keto snacks and keto junk food, and, "Oh, I could do this tortilla and that tortilla," and it got so far away from natural at this point.
yeah,
That's another thing I hate too, because these people are trying so hard, and they're in Costco, and they're like, "Oh, this is keto friendly," and they're inflamed, and there's seed oils and garbage in it.
right, you've got to be so tuned in and so trained now to understand. You got to, you got to kind of, well, I call it getting red pilled. You got to get red pilled and understand that all that crap and all these big food products with the taglines and the tag names and all the these fad things, that's all that happened to keto, in my opinion. Is it does work for a lot of people, and it can work, but it's got to be basically ketovore. It's got to be whole food carnivore plus a little bit of carnivorous vegetables, if you can take that thing and if it won't throw you off the rails. But there's a lot of people that can't even do that because it just keeps them on that carb addicted cycle.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
that guy for sure.
Yeah, me too. I think a lot of people are falling down that. It's a shame too, because I see people, like, you go to Costco or whatever, I get some meat there, and people are trying so hard. I fell for it over and over again too. It's like, oh, Costco, they got some good products. It says it's keto friendly, says it's low carb. It's funny. Hey,
Right.
just real quick, I got to shout out the carnivore mommy, Sherry. She stopped into the theater today, and we were talking about some of the stuff earlier too on the keto stuff. She's got a pretty good YouTube channel, but anyhow, I'm sorry. So you were saying, so
Oh, no worries.
you started at keto, and then eventually, how did you end up going from that into carnivore?
So I went off and on the wagon on keto for 2 years, and then I was fed up with it, and my situation was getting dire at this point. My health had gone downhill. I was working from home because I couldn't climb the stairs at work anymore, to be honest with you. And I was just working from home. I was just getting more sedentary. My lungs, I had a real bad lung problem called reactive airway disease, and my oxygen on a good day was at 88% saturation, which is not good. Um, and so I was just always winded, always having bronchitis and pneumonia every winter. And I'd been in the ICU a couple of times over just my lungs. I'd have to be on 12 liters of oxygen, and blood thinners and all this stuff to get my lungs working again. And so I was working from home, went through these keto things, failed for 2 years, just another kind of roller coaster, really. And then I read Jason Fung's book on the diabetes code, and he talked about the fasted insulin set point and how basically your body wants to be a certain size based off of what your fasted insulin is. What your fasted insulin levels are. And he said, unfortunately, there's the only really way to tackle that is with long fasting, over a period of time. It takes a while to get that fasted insulin down. So, uh, typical to my compulsive all in or all out nature, I decided I was going to do a 40-day water fast, and I didn't I didn't do any of the proper research, or I didn't get electrolytes or anything. I just jumped in with both feet, because my situation was kind of getting dire. Like, I was really sedentary and my world was getting really, really small, and I was having a real hard time getting around. And this is end of 2020 to beginning of 2021 when everybody was stuck at home anyways. And I did this made it 21 days into the water fast. And then
Wow.
I had a terrible asthma attack, and I didn't know where it was coming from, but it was brutal. And it was followed by like a pretty bad anxiety attack too. And so I had to seek a little bit of medical attention. I was trying to figure out what was going on, if it was related to the 21-day fast. And sure enough, I wasn't taking electrolytes. And so I was drinking all this water and peeing a bunch and not putting anything back in, and my potassium got dangerously low. And I didn't even know this was possible, but I guess if your potassium gets so low, it somehow does something to your blood plasma, and your red blood cell count goes down. You like lose blood cell platelets.
Mm.
And that's why I had an asthma attack, because I didn't have enough red blood cells to carry oxygen. And so I had this, so they had to put me back on potassium, and I had to go back to eating for a little bit. But what was really bad was COVID caught me with my pants down, because when I didn't have red blood cells, my immune system was shot. And so I got COVID right when my immune system was down, and COVID hit me super hard. I got just terrible pneumonia from that. And a buddy of mine, Brian, had just got it a week earlier, and he went in finally to the doctor, and he's the same age as me, but way healthy, avid hunter, hiker, super healthy guy. And he went in and got, certain treatment that I didn't agree with. But anyhow, 17 hours later, he passed away in the hospital at 38. And so I was just like, I'm not going in the hospital then, because, if Ryan couldn't make it through that, I don't know that I'm going to make it through that. And so I stayed at home, and that was good and bad, because I did get through it, and it was quite the fight, but it was bad. Because it just caused a bunch of problems. I got COVID lung. It scarred up my lungs real bad. And then I ended up kind of hurting my heart. I got congestive heart failure at that point. And in a 3-week period, I gained 84 pounds of fluid. And I just swelled up. Like, I relate so much when you said the other day, and I think it was a members only deal, but you were talking about how Bill's legs look like garbage bags full of fluid. That was me. My legs were just huge. I mean, my calves were 35 inches in diameter apiece, and I couldn't lift my own legs. And it just
Wow.
happened overnight, basically. And it was painful. Um, so, yeah, I worked for a while, tried to get that off there. Something happened one night. It was about 4 months after this. I was working on getting the fluid off. I was trying to get back to keto, but I was just so sick at that time. Life was not very fun. And I stopped breathing one night for, I guess, a long period of time, because I woke up and my oxygen was 62% saturation when I woke up, and I was confused. I thought I had a stroke, because I didn't know where I was. I couldn't recall words. Just was not a good scenario, and I was still really confused. Like 6 hours later, I didn't know where I was. Like, it would take me a minute to realize where I was. And so I had to go to the hospital, which was rough on its own. It took quite a few firefighters to get me in an ambulance. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Was not a It was not a fun experience, and went to the hospital, and that's when they told me I had COVID lung, I had congestive heart failure, I had my blood pressure was going off the Richter scale. I was at a high. They weren't sure if I had a stroke, because the only way they could check was in an MRI, but I wouldn't fit. But I might have had a stroke. They weren't sure. Put me on blood thinners. I was in the hospital for 11 days. They got 64 pounds of fluid off me in 11 days, um, with Lasix, and put me on oxygen. And then they finally sent me home with a bucket of more pills, prescription pills. Just I mean, I was on gout pills and nebulizer steroids and Advair and puffer inhaler steroids and beta blockers, and I couldn't even tell you them all. Fluid pills. They always want me to take depression and anxiety medication. They prescribe that, but I'd watch people close to me take those, and they walked around like zombies. So I never would fill the prescription. They kept telling me to take them, but I wouldn't do it. Um, just had a bucket of pills, and then I had to follow up a Zoom follow up like a week later. And when I was talking, and because they hooked me up with a cardiologist, and they all of a sudden I had all these appointments. I had a sleep study set for 3 months later. I had to see a lung specialist, and they were setting me up with this appointment. And now I got this cardiologist guy, and I was just on the phone talking to him on a Zoom call, and it was so robotic. He was talking to me like I was a car, and he was just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're just going to need this now, and that's just the way it is, and you're just going to go through these processes, and it's probably going to get worse, and you might die. It was just so I can't even explain it. What like I almost just zoned out, and I just right on that phone call I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be this guy. I'm going to figure this out with diet. I'm going to lose this weight, or I'm going to die trying, and I don't care what happens first. I just don't care. But I'm not going to be a guy that's going to take 50 pills, and now my life is going to be about bugging my family to get my 700-pound body into a new specialist to look at a new thing, to give me a new prescription, to do this new thing. I was just like, I'm not living this life. There's just no way. And so anyways, it was right after that I was like, all right, it's time to do keto again, but this time I was going to be super strict, whole foods, keto with carnivorous vegetables only, and I ordered one of those blood prick meters that check your ketone levels.
Yep.
And that was when everything's changed, because I was making taco salads. I already knew, I was like, I need to be in autophagy. I need my tissue to heal. I need my heart to heal. I need my lungs to heal. So I'm going to do OMAD. So I started doing OMAD right away. And I was like, and just going to make one taco salad a day, and that's going to be it. And then I was pricking my finger, and I wasn't getting into ketosis with this taco salad. It was making me so mad because it had been like 3 weeks and I was just under being in ketosis. So I was like, well, people are saying that the cheese and dairy keeps them out of ketosis sometimes. So I just started eliminating cheese and dairy. And basically I was just watching that ketone meter and taking my blood every day, and I was just eliminating things and to get that number as high as I could get it. And where I ended up was I was eating eggs, lettuce, and meat. That was where I ended up at. And I was like, the lettuce was making me mad. I wasn't mobile yet. And I was having to order lettuce in, and I was having to order like 3 or 4 Instacart orders a week, because lettuce goes bad in like 3 days and turns brown and slimy. And so the lettuce was the only part of keto that was left. And I'm like, and I don't even like it anyhow. So I'm like, I'm going carnivore. And I chucked it. And then at the same time, I was fighting a real bad soda addiction. I could not get off the diet soda. It was
Mm.
driving me crazy. It was the worst addiction I had this whole time. And I watched Dr. Berg. He made this lemonade, this sparkling lemonade that was like volcanic lemon juice, sparkling water, some liquid stevia, and some electrolyte powder. And he said to use it as a substitute. And I did that for 4.5 weeks, and then that was where the magic happened. Whatever between at that time I was BBB&E, OMAD, and I was drinking just this. I got off the iced tea, the diet iced tea, the sugar, fake sugar sweetened coffees, and diet sodas. I got rid of all that, and I was just drinking this lemon juice with electrolytes. I was on BB&E, and I was doing OMAD, and I don't know what happened, but it's something. Some switch flipped, and I didn't crave nothing anymore at all. And I was satiated all the time. I was never hungry. I went way deep into ketosis. all the depression and anxiety was gone. And it was just, I mean, it literally felt like in a 3 week period, everything turned around. It was just, I had to even get rid of the lettuce and the black pepper. That was the last thing I got rid of. But when I did that, man, everything turned around, and it's been the easiest, greatest thing I've ever done since.
And roughly how long ago was that? And what's
Well,
happened since?
yeah, so on the January 1st of 2023 was the first day of pure carnivore, and the last day that I drank the lemon drink and had black pepper or lettuce. And I made that day on purpose because it was going to be easy to remember. But yeah, I've been pure carnivore, OMAD, BBB&E, and just drinking water and electrolytes since then, and it's been the easiest, greatest thing. I'm off the oxygen. When I was 18 years old, my oxygen was 88% saturation. As I'm sitting here right now, it's 96% at saturation with no oxygen. So my
Mm.
lungs are better than they were when I was 18, dramatically better. It's insane. Zero depression or anxiety. I thought my depression and anxiety was because my life sucked, to be honest with you. I thought that's where it was coming from. I had no idea that it was hormonal. Had no clue that it was like brain chemistry and just actual physical health. That was one of the easiest things that actually lifted. And I mean, I don't go into it much, but there were some nights that I'm lucky to be here because it was so bad, and I mean, that was the anxiety and depression went away before anything else. Like, it was the first thing that went away. And how people aren't treating that with diet, I have no clue. No clue. Because that was so debilitating in my life, and it was so stupid simple to fix. It's just incredible. So, yeah, that just came off. And then the fluid started coming off, and then the weight started coming off, and I started breathing good. My resting pulse back then was like between 98 and like 107 beats per minute. Now it's at 68 beats a minute, and I'm still 460 pounds, but my resting heart rate right now is 68 beats a minute. Lower than it's ever been in my entire life. I can't say it enough. I feel like a new human being, a different, completely different person.
Proper human being.
Exactly. Yep.
That's incredible. The heart rate. I love hearing that too because Bill Knott, shout out Bill Knott. He's in the chat now too, by the way.
Hey,
Um,
Bill.
he had his traveling nurse come a while ago. I think she came again recently, but on the last visit he did a video with, and she was amazed with his results. And one of the results was his heart rate getting back to normal, just like you said, Todd. This is crazy. I have so many questions. So, but I guess one other thing. So you're down almost 250 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In
Wow,
10 months now, basically 10, well, and 11 months. Yeah.
that's incredible. That is so cool. Do you know anything else in regards to you? You mentioned so many things, but the congestive heart failure.
So I'm gonna go see. Well, there's some funny stories. If you watch my Sean Baker interview, that was kind of one of them. So something broke in me when I was seeing my cardiologist that day, and I had no desire to ever talk to that dude again after the conversation we had. And he was talking to me like we were talking about my pickup and not my life here.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so matter of fact. And yeah, it's broken, and yeah, you're gonna have to limp it along, and it's not probably gonna make. It was just like that. And but then I had a Zoom call. I was supposed to do a follow up with that guy, and I was supposed to be taking all this medicine, and I didn't take any of it. I'm like, I'm done with all this crap, and I threw it in the garbage. I'm like, I'm either gonna live or I'm gonna die. But it came up, and at first I was like, I'm not gonna take this. But I was 210 pounds down at that point when we redid this call, and I mean, off oxygen, fully mobile again, like walking, talking. I could breathe and talk at the same, like walk and talk and breathe at the same time again. All these crazy things were happening. So I'm like, I'm going to tell him what's going on, and I want to hear his opinion. And so I tell him this whole story, and obviously I'm like amped up. I've got a new lease on life here. And I'm telling him this, and he goes, well, obviously it's good that you're lighter, and I'm glad to hear that you're doing better. He said, but to be honest with you, we need to go over your diet because I'm worried about your diet.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm just sitting here going, dude,
Ah.
when I talked to you, you were fine telling me that I was probably just going to die early and I needed to be on these 15 medications, and that was just the way it is. Cold turkey. You didn't give a crap about my diet when I was eating, junk. And you were saying, the best I could hope for was that I could get healthy enough that you could sign me up for bariatric surgery and cut my stomach out. That was like the silver lining in your whole talk last time. And now I'm sitting in front of you, literally healthier than I was when I was 18. Some things were still bad, but they were getting better. And so many things were dramatically better. And now you're worried about my diet. Now this is a problem. And I told him right then, I said, I think you have the standard American brain fog. I think you need medical attention. You need to get your head checked because I know where I'm standing. I'm living in this reality and I am exponentially better on this red meat. And if you think that this is a problem, you are out of your mind. You need to see a doctor, pal. I
Mhm.
was just so tired of it. I
Yeah.
haven't talked to him since. So I don't know the, I haven't got blood work. I haven't tested it. I don't know. But here's what I can tell you I had heart pains. I had heart palpitations. I had so much fluid retention. I was so short of breath. All that's gone. It is completely gone. So I don't know if I have it still or not, but I am planning on finally doing a blood test, mainly because this was another thing. Going through all this, I diagnosed myself with low testosterone, and I had to make them give me a blood test so that I could go prove it. And it was one of the lowest testosterone numbers they had ever seen. It was 137 was my total testosterone, which is, if you know anything about that, that was super low. So I'm mainly going to get a blood test to see on my testosterone. When I do that, I'm going to go and I'm going to do it on my 1 year carnivore anniversary coming up here. And I'm going to get my blood work done and I'm going to go see I want to see how my lungs have healed up. Cause at the time they're like, we don't know if COVID lung heals up or not. We don't have enough information on it at the time. So I'm going to have my lungs looked at, my lungs looked at again. And I'm going to have my heart looked at again, get another EKG and all that, and then I'm going to do a blood test. Just I want to see where I'm at because I feel like it's just all gone, and then I'm going to get the receipts on that.
Yes. That's so that's so cool. I have congestive heart failure too, and I used to always get dizzy standing up. And I told the story earlier, but I'm going in at the end of the year. I've had an irregular heartbeat my whole life. It's normalized on carnivore, which is just crazy to me. I know that's true because my wife told me, and I went out and bought a stethoscope. I had to test myself, and that's normalized. And then I did more research, and I've heard of other people reporting that same thing. I don't know about the congestive heart failure, but I do know that prior to carnivore, every single time I'd stand up, I'd get dizzy and almost fall over. I have none of that anymore. I could stand up right now. I feel like I could run a marathon and I don't get dizzy or tired. So the science is there too. The heart just performs a lot more efficiently when the body's in ketosis. The brain does as well. So we'll see. But one of the things I love about you, Todd, is you're pissed off,
Very much
rightfully
so.
so. Yeah. One thing that I think I used to fall in this trap, but every now and then you'd hear people on TV say when someone was on there and they're overweight, like, oh, well, just stop eating or just exercise. That pisses me off too, the more I think about it now. I used to be kind of like, yeah, well, that was their decision to eat that much. It wasn't your decision as a child to get hooked on sugar and gain a bunch of weight at a young age. Those are things that I did to my children and my parents did to me too. I was a chubby kid also, and I was eating that stuff from a young age. It's an addictive drug, sugar is, that we're hooked on. And then you've gone to so many doctors, and they've all failed you. It's just
Well, what did they tell me? Okay, so I'm a sugar addict. We all know that. And then they go, you need to eat 6 to 8 small doses of sugar a day.
right. Just do it in moderation. Do it in
Yeah.
moderation.
And that's their answer. I mean, you wouldn't do that to any other addict. You wouldn't tell that to any other drug addict or alcoholic, but they do it to people hooked to sugar because they don't, it's like they're scared to admit how poisonous sugar is. Like it's, they're whoever's got these people in their pocket is clearly protecting this narrative, and that's why they push this, the calorie. the quality of the calorie doesn't matter. It only matters about a calorie deficit, because then they can put the guilt and the blame on us for not having the willpower, because they know nobody can. You can't be hungry for 10 years and just tough it out. It's going to win every time,
Every
you
time.
know?
Yep.
It's stupid. But I'm so mad because this was so simple. This was
Yes.
so simple.
Well,
You know,
when you've had the depression that you had, I totally feel for you on that one. That's the reason I'm doing this documentary, by the way. It wasn't for weight loss or anything else. There's so many other important things as well that are coming out, like cancer too. But the depression and anxiety, you're absolutely right. It's so, and I hear this story over and over and over again. And I did this, which you were smart enough not to do. I fell into that trap for 10 years doing antidepressant medicines that did nothing for me as carnivore in a couple of weeks. And it's not even I don't know if you have this yet, Todd. It's not that my depression is gone and my anxiety is gone and I'm normal now. It's the opposite of that. I am happy now. I'm
right,
excited now. It's the opposite of whatever the just not having it anymore. And when I was on those antidepressants they gave me, it didn't I didn't want to kill myself anymore, but I had no emotion and I didn't want to live. And there was like no purpose to even live.
you're
And
numb.
you're a
Yeah.
zombie, a numb zombie, catatonic, just sitting there waiting, watching life go by. It's so simple. It's just
Right. People keep asking me, like, how do you know that, like Sean Baker asked me, what do you say to the people that say, well, you've lost 200 pounds before and 300 pounds before and gained it back? Why do you think, dude? Because before, these diets were like, it was like in the movies when they're having the cliffhanger thing and somebody's hanging on to the edge of the cliff and they're losing their grip. That's what every diet of mine felt like before. I was I was trying to pump myself up and lie to myself every morning, going, you can do this. You got to get serious about it. Dig deep, try hard, pump yourself up every day. But the entire time you were losing your grip, and you knew that any minute you were going to come off the rails and you're going to crash to the bottom. And then every time you did, the depression would be worse because you just beat yourself up so bad. You would gain more weight, you would get sicker, and then you go off the rails because you didn't even want to try again or have hope or faith in anything for a year or two. Something would happen, you get tired of being sick on this end, and you go back at it and you try again. But every time it was like you're just holding on to that ledge and shaking, and your fingers are about to slip every time. Now, I wake up happy. I wake up so full of energy. I mean, I sleep 5 hours now, and I couldn't get this kind of rest in 12 hours before. Could
yeah.
not do it. I wake up, my head pops off the pillow. I don't think about food. Before, when I would wake up, I would go, God, I hope somehow I can get through the day. I'd have to think, just get to the shower and it'll be better. Just get to the shower, take a shower, and do, I had to face the day like an hour at a time, and in the back of my head it was like, you're not going to be able to make it through this day without going off the rails. You're not going to be able to make it through without soda or pizza or something. You're going to go off the rails today. It was just in the back of my head.
Hmm.
I wake up and I almost don't even believe it's real anymore. I wake up and I'm like, I can't believe I'm this person now. For 39 years that thing just had me dominated, where it was the first thing that I was face to face with in the morning, every morning, and it made you just want to crawl back into bed. It just made you, I can't explain it, but that's not there anymore. That's gone. In fact, I had the craziest realization like 2 days ago. So 2 weeks ago, my last bad habit is chewing Copenhagen. I've been doing that since I was a teenager. If anybody that's grown up in the country knows that that's just kind of how it is out here. And so I've been doing that my whole life since I was just a teenager. And I decided it's time to give that up. One, I'm just really enjoying not having anything that's dominating me as far as habits or whatever. I enjoy the feeling now of getting rid of those things. But what was crazy was I'm doing this priming and stuff with the steak and butter game in Lindy right now. And so I was actually, that's actually tougher than it is, which is another realization, to think that now eating is the hard part. Eating 3 times a day is so hard. But it was kind of hurting my sleep. I wasn't sleeping because I wasn't used to eating so late, and so I was a little stressed out because I hadn't slept well in a week on the first week of priming and stuff. And then also I happened to have a really big project at work going on at that time, biggest one I'd ever worked on, and I had a deadline. And so I changed my mind. I said, you know what, this is not a good week to quit chewing because I don't want to jeopardize priming in this. I got enough things going on. I'm going to put it off till next week. Well, as soon as I did that, an old part of my brain kicked in, and it was like, yeah, this is just, because I was so used to back then kicking, like, say I was going to start a diet on Monday, and then I didn't, and I made an excuse not to start on Monday. And then the next Monday would come, and I'd be like, oh, well, this holiday's coming up, or this birthday's coming up. So we'll start after that, right? I was
Oh
always
yeah.
making these excuses, right? Well, I felt like I was doing that for a split second on Copenhagen. And then I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And there was this weird paranoia. I was waiting for myself to feel guilty and depressed that I didn't do what I said I was going to do, and I didn't quit the week that I said I was going to quit. And it never happened. And this was actually bugging me because I was like almost flinching, waiting for this depression and guilt hammer to drop because I was so used to that hitting me so hard when I would do stuff like that. And it didn't. And the realization was, I sat back and I was like, why is this not bugging me? The only part of this that is bugging me is the fact that it's not bugging me. And I don't know why right now. And I actually had to think through it. And I was like, holy crap. I figured out that the reason why it's not bugging me is because I'm not an addict anymore and I can actually trust my own motives again. And I was sitting here going, holy crap, this is amazing. I can trust I can trust my own judgment and motives again, where before it was like the addict part of my brain was lying to me, but my consciousness and my spirit knew that I was lying to myself. So there's this inner conflict. I don't have that anymore. I know that when I made that decision to put off chewing for a week, it was actually in the best interest of the big picture because I wanted to stay on priming and not jeopardize it. Yeah, it's I'm not explaining it well, but it was really interesting to be able to trust my own judgment again for the first time in a long time, and I'm just really enjoying that this week. The
Yeah.
fact that that's new,
No,
you
you
know.
explained it well. I get it. It's like it's kind of corny. I always say it, but it's like you're the captain of your own ship. You're in total control, probably for the first time in your whole life. It's something people don't think about when they go on carnivore. And when that happens, you're like, "Ooh, this is really nice. I've never known what this is like." Because before it, it's always, "What are we going to eat next? What are we going to do next? Where's the food?" You know what you were saying earlier, Todd. Too, the other diets, and always just gripping right there, knowing it's going to fail. This is my big thing on carnivore that I've learned is the reason carnivore works, and the reason Todd, it's going to work for you is because natural. It's natural. Those other diets, you starving yourself and trying to eat lettuce or just trying to barely get enough calories to go by, is not what any natural human or animal should be doing. And what you're doing now is natural, and therefore it's sustainable. You don't even have to think about it. Sometimes you got to remind yourself you got to eat something. It's
Yeah,
like the most natural thing in the world. I think that's with carnivore, with cancer, with heart disease, with all of these things. It's just humans getting further and further away from natural with the diet sodas and
yeah,
smoking and everything, sitting under fluorescent lights and all these other things. So oh man, it's yeah, I get pissed off too. It's some of the stuff is so simple. I don't know. I was in such a fog, so I guess I give people the benefit of the doubt for that because I was in it too before. But
yeah,
now you look around and you're just like, we're living in a world of addicts. And you say that to some people are like, oh, sugar's not that bad. I can handle it just a little bit. It's kind of like an alcoholic saying, I work really hard. I can have a shot here or there. I'll be just fine. But it's like the
man.
whole world is addicted to it, and it's become normal,
I
and
quit
we're the weird
smoking.
ones.
I quit smoking. I've quit caffeine now. I quit gambling. When I was young, I had a pretty nasty gambling habit. I quit all those things, and this week I did quit chewing this week. None of those compared to quitting sugar. That soda addiction that I had was the worst addiction by miles compared to anything else that I've had to quit in my life. That soda addiction was the most brutal thing that I've ever fought in my life. And I'm not even being hyperbolic about it all.
Yep.
It was ridiculous. And so that's just what makes me mad. It isn't, I get that the doctors believe the epidemiology studies and what they're taught in medical school and all this stuff. But this is why I respect Ken Berry and Chafee and Baker so much because they're normal people and they know they're in the middle of that. They're watching it and going, okay, what I was taught's not working. It's clear that this is not working. It's clear that 74% of America is overweight or obese under this same protocol that is clearly not working for people. There's a mental health epidemic right now in the United States. This is clearly not working for people. Our treatment on this, and those guys were honest enough to step out and say, you know what, I know what I was taught, but it's not right and it's not working. And they went out and did their own research, and they're going against the grain. At a certain point, I'm okay with believing that some of the doctors are still believe in what they're taught, but I think at a certain point, you turn a blind eye to it because you don't really want to have to deal with it. You don't want to have to step out of line. You don't want to have to risk your livelihood on it. And you can always make that argument that there's that it's anecdotal right now. Carnivore's anecdotal, maybe it's raised, there's enough people online. It should at least be a hypothesis right now,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least come to that level. But, so they can sit there and justify it that way. But how do you not look at the state of disease and obesity and mental health in America and think that the system's fine right now? Like, I don't know how you do that every day and not speak up, or at very least question what's happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Some people make the argument, well, they're doctors, they're not nutritionists, and they also take an oath to do no harm. Look at all the harm that you've had to endure. Look at all the harm I had to endure. Like all these pills, they say, well, those aren't harming you. Yeah, those harmed me. I took these for
Absolutely.
10 years, 12 years, some of them even longer,
Well,
and they did nothing for me, just prolonging all the problems.
think about this. The number one treatment for for pretty much all disease in the United States right now is also the number three top killer of, cause of death in the United States, which is medication. How is the number one treatment the number three cause of death? Like, how do we not look at that and go, something is wrong here? Like, how can we keep doing this? It's just, and then they'll fight you. The propaganda that comes at you, the people that want to beat you down because you dare question the obvious thing that's right in front of us. I'm not saying that I have all the answers. I'm sure that there's things on Carnivore that I'm doing wrong that could be done better, but you cannot deny. This is why I relish the day that I get the rest of this weight off at like another 200 pounds, get it off in like 12 to 18 months. I'm going to throw that in every doctor's face I can. I am bringing the receipts and I'm picking fights, and we're going to have it out because you're going to have to try to convince people and convince me with me standing right in front of you that I did something wrong, you
Right.
know?
Yes. Oh, you're gonna do it. No, no questions about it. I can't wait to see that day. That's gonna be so exciting, man. Uh, one of the things that's irritating, not to take it negative, but then some people are gonna say, "Well, I've heard this one before. Did you do it healthy? Did you do it the healthy way?" Yeah, thank you. I've had people say
Compared
that to me at
to
the movie
what?
theater. Yeah, oh, are you okay? You look kind of sick. You lost a bunch of weight. I'm like, oh, well, when I was 100 pounds heavier than this, and I had suicidal depression, congestive heart failure, aches and pains, ailments, IBS, arthritis in my foot, you never asked me if I was okay. Then I was
Nope.
just fine, eating cupcakes and junk food and drinking Diet Mountain Dews all day long.
When I look in
Now
the
everyone's worried.
mirror, I see this light and this life in these eyes that I'm addicted to looking at. I love seeing that in the mirror. I didn't see that for 20 some years. I didn't have life in my eyes and my face. I was just a dark, empty shell. And it was just like I was a candle that was about burnt out. I can't even I can't explain it. But I see life in my eyes for the first time in my face. I see it in the mirror every day, you know? It's like you cannot tell me. Do you get this now? When you walk around, you see this inflammation face on people, and you see that hollow eyes,
Oh
and
my
you,
God.
oh,
From a
dude, you,
mile away, it's like a radar. Like, you're
yeah,
inflamed, you're inflamed, you're inflamed. Yeah.
exactly. And you're wanting to go, hey, you know why your eyes are gray and you got puffy gray under your eyes and your
Yep.
cheeks are all puffy and your skin's bad? You want to tell them, and it's like, yeah,
I got to be careful how I do it, but we had a bunch of family over, and I love them all. But the whole weekend, this was a while back, every single one of them. Oh, my elbow hurts. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, I got this arthritis in my foot. Itis this, itis. I'm like, you're eating highly inflammatory foods all weekend and you're complaining that your body is highly inflamed. Like, it's
Right.
very crystal clear to me. And they know what I'm doing and they see what I'm doing. And they're just eating the cupcakes
And
and
you're
the
right
stuff.
in front of them. You're right in
Right.
front of them, right? And they
Right.
see it. They knew you before. They knew you when you had all your problems. They see it in front of you, and somehow they still ask the question, "Are you sure this meat's good for you?" I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you knew me. You knew me just 10 months ago. You knew me. How
Right?
can
You
you
get
ask
some of
that?
them too where they're almost like begging, "Can't you just have, like, a little bit of broccoli or something like that?" I'm like, "Why? Why? It's been 223 days, I haven't had a bite of broccoli. I am healthier now than I've been my entire life. My blood work shows it. I could get up and run a marathon. I could barely stand up before." But it's some weird subconscious thing with a lot of people, like, they know they're doing bad, they're like,
Yep.
sometimes they'll do it too, like, "Oh, just have
Yeah,
a piece of birthday cake. Just do it in moderation. Just do I don't want it. I'm great.
I
I'm
know.
fine."
I
Some
know. I was
weird.
telling the steak and butter gang they had a kind of a question about, how you navigate the social aspect of it when you're not eating the things that other people are eating and stuff. And I said I love it. It's funny because like when I'm ordering, everybody busts my butt about it. They just give me a hard time when I'm ordering. But here's what I love: is an hour after we eat, and everybody starts sitting back and holding their stomach and they're burping, and then just like you said, they start talking about, oh, the doctor says I had this and this itis and that thing or whatever. And that is when I start dropping elbows on people because they were giving me a hard time. And these are people I love, and I'm ribbing them, but I'm like, yeah, that's the time that you go ahead and make your point, going, you know what? I'm not burping. I have no itises.
Right?
I don't need a nap. I'm not going into a coma right now. This is why I eat the way that I eat, so that I don't have to go into a food coma, an insulin coma after I eat and be bloated for the and their night is just about over after they eat dinner. It's pretty much done because they are now going on that terrible feel bad train for the next, however many hours.
Oh, and then at the night too, we had family sleeping over. Snore fest, snore fest. Oh my goodness, so much. I called it too. I'm like, there's gonna be some loud snoring tonight. We had someone sleeping on the couch, and all the way on the opposite end of the house, they were waking people up snoring. I'm like, inflammation. There you go.
It
Hope you
is.
enjoyed the cupcake. I'm fine. Like they genuinely feel bad for me too. Like I'm sitting here eating a ribeye with butter on it. I'm doing okay here. I'm fine. I'm not wanting for anything, but
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was saying this the other day too, because people are like, well, the problem with carnivores, it's so restrictive, and if you stop doing it, you're going to gain all the weight back. But first of all, I was sitting here going, how is that not true about any diet plan or ever? Like, if you go back to the standard American diet, of course, you're going to get unhealthy again and you're going to gain the weight back. So I don't even know where the argument is there. But what I sit here and think about is, you know, if you found a guy that was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk, or if you found somebody with AIDS and they were dying or some incurable disease, and you said, "Hey, I got good news for you and bad news. Good news is there is a treatment for this that's going to reverse all your symptoms. The bad news is if you stop doing it, it's going to come back. So, and and unfortunately, you're going to have to eat ribeyes for the rest of your life." It's like anybody in their right mind that's been sick enough and far enough gone would latch on to that, and it would not be restrictive at all. I can tell you, not being able to make it to the bathroom is restrictive. Living in a 12-foot square area is restrictive. You're telling me that all I got to do is eat bacon and ribeyes, and this is my penance, and I'm supposed to feel like this is too restrictive and unsustainable? Give me a break.
Right.
It is a
Yeah,
blessing.
for sure. Yeah, I say that every bite's a celebration. I really mean that too. 223 days in, I have not bitten a piece of steak and been like, "Oh, woo is me. This is so terrible. What am I doing?" I love every bite of it. But you know what changed it for me? Because I get some of that. Like when I first started, I'm like, I don't know how I could just eat meat forever. I've totally switched it. But Dr. Chafee, man, he was talking one time about. I know I've said this before, but it's just resonates so well with me. Every species on this planet has a species appropriate food. Humans are the only ones with our big, huge brains eating all of this crazy garbage and Doritos and cupcakes and sugar and crap food. And we're the only ones with all the suffering. Millions of species on Earth. Lion eats gazelles, koala eats eucalyptus, cows eat grass. It's like every single one of them. So it's when people say that, like some people, I've heard people say, "Oh, that's a fad diet." I'm like, no, the standard American diet that's only been going on for I don't know how many generations now, and everyone's suffering. Heart disease is going through the roof,
Yeah,
diabetes is going through the roof, all during this standard American diet. That's a fad. Eating the way that we're eating, that Todd and I are eating, has been the way I believe humans have eaten since the beginning of time. It's
absolutely. And if you know, and if you break it down, yeah, there's 640,000 different products in the grocery store. You hear this number all the time. And like, I don't know, 625,000 of them are sugar,
yeah,
But if you stop pretending like there's a difference between Oreos and Pop Tarts, I mean, it's all one thing. It's poisonous sugar, and that's all you're really eating it for is because you have a sugar addiction. The soda, the Pop Tarts, all that crap, it's the same thing. It's just a different color sprinkle. It's a different turd with different sprinkles on it. Basically, it's the same crap that you're eating over and over again. And if you were said that, hey, there's 640,000 flavors of meth. And so I can't stop taking meth because it's just too restrictive now, knowing that there's so many flavors of meth out there. It's like, are you kidding me? It's meth.
right.
You're killing yourself. Go eat the protein. I don't care if there's only 100 types of it or 1,000 types of it or whatever, and you want this big variety. You're getting sold a bill of goods. It's all just meth. Don't
Right.
take it. It's killing you. That's the way
Yeah,
I'm looking at it anymore.
for sure. That's not even food. It's just waste. Waste in, waste out. And you're right. It's a drug. That's the craziest thing. Someone that watched the channel sent me this book by Duffy called Sugar Blues.
Yeah.
It's talking about all these things we're talking about, Todd. It's talking about it's one of the most addictive drugs and it's one of the most dangerous drugs on earth. And this book is from the 1970s. It's
I
from
know.
50 plus years ago. This
Right.
is all asked and answered known a long time ago, and it's only getting worse and worse. But again, we're living in a world where everyone's addicted to it, and somehow it gets a complete pass. There's no like remember they used to advertise cigarettes to like kids and stuff like that.
Right.
I was talking about this before with Sherry when she was here. Why not for sugar for
Right.
Saturday morning? Get the kids hooked on Pop Tarts and cereal, and then they're lifelong sugar consumers to a drug that they're addicted to for the rest of their life. That's the
Right.
other reason for this whole carnivore diet documentary, besides the depression and hope. It's just Dr. Baker said this on one of his videos. This next generation of children are never going to know what it's like to be a proper natural human. Like Todd and I feel like children should feel like. Ellie's
Totally.
children, Ellie's on here. She's awesome. Her children are going to know what it's like, but most children, the vast majority of them, are never going to know what it's like to be a natural human. And then they get ADHD and they get learning disorders and they get in their teenage years, they start getting depression and anxiety and constant brain inflammation. And then they get up and on the weight starts going on. They're never going to know what it's like, and that's just going to
No.
be normal for them. It's
No,
insane.
and it's so obvious and sad too. I mean, you've seen those pictures where they show like the movie theater in New York outside of like Star Wars in 1973 or something, and there's no overweight children.
Yeah. Yep.
And then so how anybody can sit here and keep, I say these things over and over again, but how anybody can sit here and not realize that this is, I love Gary Taub's book, The Case Against Sugar, when he talks about the only way that you can shape the behavior of 74% of a population the size of America is if you change the environment, if you mess with the environment. It has to be an environmental change to affect the behavior and the outcome of that large of a population, that large of a percentage of a population. And once you just let that sink in, it does take the pressure off you. I know I used to beat myself up a lot and just was always guilty. Like I guess I'm not strong enough. I guess I'm too weak. That fed this kind of depression. And I think it's all just synergy that works off of itself when you have the brain fog and the depression. These things create like this perfect storm kind of to keep you locked into it or whatever. But if you can just start backing up and realizing this isn't just happening to you, it's happening to 74% of the world. And I say my thing was weight. Your thing was some weight, but depression and other health issues. I think it's all the same thing. I think that there's really just healthy and unhealthy. And the difference between everybody's conditions is really just a manifestation of symptoms. But it's basically the same thing. We're just not healthy. And it's because our natural food environment has just been completely destroyed. And there's a giant cover up going on right now to, for whatever reason. I mean, yes, it's money and those things, but everybody, I don't know. I don't understand how it works still. I can't wrap my head around how it's still so prevalent, and that people are so indoctrinated by it that they're willing to fight people that are trying something and getting good results, and it somehow threatens them. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You said it too. You hit the nail on the head with the word natural. That's what it all comes back to. It's such an escape from natural. We have all these topics for the carnivore diet documentary, and cancer is the newest one because that one really, I wasn't going to be in there until I met my friend Jeff, and then I started learning more about cancer, and it's just like a microcosm of exactly what you said. It's a representation. People are getting cancer. This is what Professor Seafried says. He's been working on this his whole life from chronic inflammation. In most cases, you can get it from cigarettes, you can get it from other things, but in most cases, it's chronic inflammation from eating unnatural foods that humans aren't intended to eat. You do that long enough and you get cancer. And the sad thing with cancer is it's just like everything else you just said, Todd, whether it's depression or type 2 diabetes, all these issues, heart disease, you go in for cancer and they give you unnatural solutions. They give you medicine, they give you chemo. And if you talk, Professor Seafried said this, like, can't we could still do the chemo or whatever that you guys have to do, but can't we just put these kids on keto and they can do that? Because there's all sorts of studies that chemotherapy is so much more effective if the person is in ketosis or they're fasting. He's told, nope, that's too dangerous. Keto's too dangerous for the children. We could put them on chemo, but keto is too dangerous for them. It's just,
Yep.
it's insane.
It's
Um,
sickening. But yeah, I've been watching Jeff's story. That dude is an absolute rock star, man. He's in my family's prayers for sure. That dude, it's just amazing. I was so happy you're doing putting him in the movie, man. That is incredible what he's doing and the
Yeah,
results that he's
talk about
having.
a fighter. My goodness. He is not leaving anything on the table. He's doing everything in his power. I can't believe it. Like I did the 5-day fast with him just to kind of see what it was like. And man, he's done that 32 times,
Incredible,
fasting
huh?
for 5 days. Then he's in full ketosis. But that's not it. Like he we talk all the time now. He was texting me. He went in for the chemo treatment on Wednesday. And then afterwards he's like jogging. He's like exercising. Most people that get chemo, as everyone knows here that's listening, they're in bed and they're
Hmm.
exhausted and they're tired. Part of it he attributes to the fact that he's doing carnivore. He has less inflammation. And it seems like the chemo is much more effective. And then the other part of it is he's just badass. He's a
Yeah,
fighter and
yeah,
he's
he's a
doing everything he
superhero.
possibly can. He's like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it 100%. Yeah, he's incredible. Yeah, we're going to be filming him uh, pretty soon next. So man, this is great, Todd. I don't. It's already been almost an hour. Do you got a little more time to answer a couple
Absolutely.
questions?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
absolutely.
And shout out Bill Knott. Hey, here we go. Hey, Carrie and Todd. Todd, you're awesome. Bill's a
I
fan.
appreciate it, Bill, man. You are an absolute inspiration, man. I gotta tell you, what you're doing, it takes a lot of strength, man, and you're killing it. Just keep it up. I just want to see you on these videos more, man. Your videos are amazing. Don't be shy about it, man. I mean, I could listen to you talk for hours, Bill. You're outstanding, man.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And and so, Todd, one other thing we were talking about this briefly before the call, but you've been doing some videos with Limitless Lindy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Can,
It's
can
been
you tell
a,
us a little bit more about that?
yeah, man. Like, so when I was, I was searching through keto, right? And I'll just make this quick. But when I was searching through keto, I wasn't seeing anybody like me. And then when I got to carnivore, I'm like, man, this all makes sense. And it's just speaking to, like just speaking to my soul because it's natural and obviously it's right. Something was resonating with me on the carnivore side of things. But I also had this big block in my head going, yeah, I'm too far gone though. I'm 700 and whatever pounds and I can't even breathe. I got all these, congestive heart failure, reactive airway disease, the COVID lung. Like I didn't expect it to work, if I'm being completely honest. It was a Hail Mary. And I was hoping that it would do something, but it was either going to be that or just, you know, just it was going to be what it was going to be. So, and then it worked, but I was always looking. I kept searching because I was looking for somebody that was 6, 7, 800 pounds that had done carnivore and lost it. Because when you're in that world, you only see like my 600-pound life. You see like the biggest loser, and it always is either some crazy thing, and then you find out they gained it back later, or they go and get bariatric surgery, and it's like a 50-50. So when you get to a certain point, like me and Bill and stuff, and I'm not downplaying anybody. I mean, I don't care if you have 100 pounds to lose. You can be just as lost and hopeless too. Like, I get that, but you don't see anybody out there making it, and so you are looking for something to grab onto. And I know I was, and that was why when I saw Bill, I'm like, I was a little bit further ahead of him, and I was like, man, I want him to know that this actually did work, because I was looking for that. And then I made a channel, and Lindy messaged me, and I was like, she was way ahead of me, and she wasn't out there yet. And I'm like, oh my God, that's three of us that are on carnivore that are just, I mean, this was just mind blowing to me. So then me and Lindy had a Zoom call, and it was so nice to be able to talk to somebody about like that much weight. Like, it was funny. We were talking about the treadmill and how I had to lose like 100 pounds to even be able to get on the treadmill that I bought. And I bought this heavy duty treadmill. And then when I got on it, the first time I took a step on it, the treads skip across the rollers because you're so heavy that it pushes the tread backwards up the rollers. And so you're about falling over because the treadmill's skipping. And when I said that to Lindy, she goes, yes, exactly. That's the same thing that happened to me. And so we were kind of relating on this level. And it just dawned on both of us during that call. I was like, man, this feels good to talk to somebody that was in this wheelhouse, and now it's really, really working, and we're free from this, because as Lindy says, she finally has an off switch. She's like, this is easy now. It has no control over me because I have an off switch when it comes to these cravings. So we were talking, and so we started doing a Sunday live stream. We do it at 3 p.m. on Sundays, Mountain Daylight Time, but in hopes that somebody that was in our position, Bill's position, might see it and get to understand that carnivore can even pull you out of those depths. Like, the proper human diet, our bodies are amazing, and it's not too late. And I'll be danged, but on our second week, I don't want to say who it is yet because he's a little bit shy. But we got contacted by a person that's now helping us, and he's been stuck in his house for 17 years, and he's
Wow.
well over 700 pounds, and he's 90 days carnivore right now, and he's getting his
Yes.
life back, man. And I have never been happier to make a new friend in my life and see what's going on with this. And I just hope that this grows to where we can have 10,000 people like that come on and tell them how carnivore got them out of their just their hole that they're in, their prison, the 700-pound, whatever it is. I don't care what the number is, but they didn't think they'd get out of it. It reaches them, and they get out of that hole if they've been housebound for 17 years.
My goodness. Prisoner, prisoner,
Prisoner.
hopeless. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm so happy you're doing that, Todd. That's life changing because your story is going to resonate with people more than other people. That's why I always encourage people do a YouTube channel. I'm so happy you're doing a YouTube channel. Your story is going to resonate with people that my story isn't, and other people's stories that won't resonate with either. And that's the whole thing with the carnivore diet documentary we're doing too, is just sharing these examples because it's the individual examples that matter. They're going to resonate with people. Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, those guys are all awesome. But seeing Todd, you're doing this 250 pounds down and counting. There's nothing more powerful than that. And even for people that aren't in such a dire situation, have 700 pounds to lose, or like Bill that are stuck in their house, the fact that Todd's lost 250 pounds already, even if you got 100 pounds to lose, or depression, anxiety, it's so inspirational. I don't think there's anything more inspirational than a real story, a real example like that.
Yeah, and it's like I can't even explain it, but my whole life the weight was the goal, the focus, the thing. And now it's just icing on the cake. I don't even care about the weight
That
anymore. I feel so good. my mind works so much better. I have so much energy. Every area of my life has improved. And even just quitting chewing now is so much easier. And I can't even tell you, this carnivore goes so far outside the diet realm to like to everything else in your life. It's just crazy. It's just when you're healthy and you're thriving and you have this vibrant quality of life back, it's you just feel unstoppable. I was telling a friend of mine, I said, we're gonna have to start taking like the Chuck Norris jokes and making them for carnivores. You
Yes.
know?
Yeah. I started doing that kind of a little bit. Like carnivores don't get sunburned, carnivores don't take naps, carnivores don't do this, but yeah, it's the
Right.
same idea. Yeah, you're right. It's you feel like a natural, proper human, and you never have your whole life. That was me too. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this to lose some weight to feel a little bit better, and I'm like, I'll take 100 pounds back. You put another 100 on top of it, I will take it in a second to have all these other improvements.
Exactly. Yep. And it's so good. And I don't know. I maybe this is wrong. I don't know, but I feel like even some of the gambling addiction I had was actually me like medicating anxiety and depression back then because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, why was that such a big deal? Like it's not a thing now for me. That went away with whatever brain chemistry wise, chemical wise in my body has straightened out. Whatever has given me just this calmness and way more patience, and I'm not so ADD and everything has to happen right now or it's not worth it or whatever. I always just felt like I was behind and the clock was running out all the time on me. I don't know
Yeah.
what that was exactly. That's just gone. And now I'm just so happy in the process of things. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, hey, I mentioned before, but there's a bunch of new people on here now. Check out Todd's channel, Carnivore Cure. You got that video going Sunday, he mentioned. And then on Monday, shout out Bill Knott. He's got a new video coming up. I was talking to Bill about this is going to be a video you don't want to miss. So go make sure you're subscribed to both of these guys. They're putting out some incredible content for sure. Let's see, we got a couple other questions here. Carnivore Nation asked Todd if you could change one thing about your journey on or this lifestyle, what would it be?
No, boy, that's hard. I mean, I would honestly say the only thing that I would change would be when I found keto if I would have found carnivore because I would have liked to have started in 2019 instead of now. But since I've been doing this, also that could change if I would have met Lindy and be doing this channel and honestly this channel right now is the most meaningful thing I've ever done because these people that I'm meeting and so I don't know that I'd change anything to be honest with you. And I mean, I know that sounds like a corny postcard answer or something, but I mean it's true. Right now, meeting people that we're meeting and hearing their stories and how they're climbing out of it, I don't know that I'd change anything.
Nice. Yeah, you just made me think of something real quick. You were so hopeless and desperate for so long. Bill was in a very similar situation. I remember when I went to meet him in Alaska, just not having a purpose, stuck in that house for years with no purpose. To go from that to now what Bill's doing and what Todd is doing, like this man that you're talking about that you and Lindy found, he saw one of your videos and now you're helping him out. And all the other people too that, by the way, are too embarrassed or too scared to comment that you're potentially helping. What an amazing story for Bill and for you, Todd, that you went from being stuck, you were stuck on your recliner, Bill was stuck on his bed, hopeless, feeling you don't have a purpose, to now, like, what bigger purpose is there now when you can give someone this example and they can do it, change their life forever? There's just like nothing greater than that.
No, I mean, and I really truly mean this. I've been, I always felt like I don't know, I felt like a failure is physically right in my life, and so I always put my threw myself into work, and I've had a bit of success in my field, But it's because I always felt like I was going to justify myself through work or something. But since losing this weight and finding carnivore and finding the proper human diet and doing this channel, like there's been nothing that's given me more meaning than this channel has. And I don't I'm that's not just some little platitude that I'm throwing out there. I mean it 100%. The stories, and I can't imagine what it's like to be you with all the emails you get because the ones that I get are just, I mean, they grab you by the heart. You hear these stories of people and where they came from, and it's just crazy to see that good news. And it's crazy to see people get lifted out of just the depths that they've been in and the pain that they've been in and trapped, and see them getting lifted out of that. And it just resonates. You can relate to so many of these people's stories. I don't care if they were, cancer and autoimmune disease or arthritis or whatever. The mental place that they were is very, very similar to all of us, and their experience coming out of it, and their gratefulness, and having like this second chance, it just resonates every time. And I think that's why this community is amazing. It's because it's full of genuine people that were at the end of their ropes, and they got a second chance, and everybody appreciates it, and they just want to share it with people. And it's the most genuine, uplifting community I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Well said. I agree. Yeah, that was my thing too. I'm like, I'm gonna do this one 30-day video. I started getting those emails that you mentioned, and I've always had like a lot of empathy for people, but in particular, these people, they all have this. It's like the same story as me. I'm like, I was there. You were hopeless. I'm hopeless. I could totally feel it. I could sense it, especially when Bill reached out to me. That one just really, it resonated with me. I could feel kind of what he was feeling. And yeah, it turned into, this is going to be a fun one time YouTube video to, wow, this is kind of important to, wow, this would be irresponsible if I didn't continue doing this, to now
Right.
it's like kind of a purpose in life. Like there's nothing I like I would not, I've said this before and people call me a liar. I'd rip up a lottery ticket for $1 billion I would rather do what I'm doing right here, right now. It's there's nothing
I
better.
wholeheartedly believe it, man. There's more meaning in this, and the world needs it right now, man. There's so much pain and sickness, and just people trapped with, and not and the people that we put our faith into that are supposed to have the answer to this, they don't have the answer. They do not have the answer right now. And so, yeah, I mean, my brother died. My dad died. They were both sick. My sister's carnivore now. My other brother's carnivore now. My mom's carnivore now. My sister thought her doctor told her 3 years ago she went through early menopause at 47, and she's like, does carnivore do something to your hormones because I'm having my cycle again? And she was freaked out, like thought, and I was like, yeah, I think you're healing. You're just getting better. Like this is a
Yes.
good thing, you know. Just all these things are coming every day, and I, I'm just happy to be part of it. Like I think there's just no way that there's so much truth and meaning in what's going on in the carnivore community. There's just no way that people are going to be able to cover this up, to hide it, to stomp it back down. Like this is going to spread like a good pandemic. It's this this is coming for, and everybody's going to know it soon enough.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That ripple effect, it's unstoppable when it works so well. The same thing. Both my sisters are doing it. My mom, my stepdad, my daughters, and every one of them are now an example. And then it spreads and it spreads. Like I really believe, like what I'm seeing on my channel and people coming in, and it's spreading like crazy. There's no stopping it now. If they wanted to stop it before, it's too late now.
Yep.
Here's a question from Pat. Todd, how many times a day do you eat? How many pounds of meat do you eat in a day?
You're asking me at a funny time because I'm on priming now with the steak and butter gang. So I used to eat between 1.5 and like 2 pounds of meat a day, and I would eat once a day. I did that for 9 months. Actually, about almost 10 months actually. But my metabolism around month 8 started slowing down, and I could feel it. I wasn't having quite the energy I was having, wasn't sleeping quite as good, and I could just feel something was wrong, something was off. And I was talking to the steak and butter gang after hearing Lindy's story, and I'm doing that. So now I'm doing something kind of crazy, particularly right now. I have low test. Well, I think I haven't had blood tests in a while, but I think I still have low testosterone, and I'm trying to combat that. And I'm also priming. So I'm eating 36 eggs a day right now to combat the low T. And if anybody knows that protocol, you'll know what I'm talking about on the 36 eggs, because it has so much, what is it called? H I can't remember the hormone now. DHA, I think is what it's called, which is a byproduct of testosterone in each egg. That they say that 36 eggs a day is actually like a full-on steroid cycle that weightlifters use. It's pretty crazy, and it's definitely making a difference. So I'm eating that, and I'm eating also between 2.5 and 3 pounds of meat a day as well. So I'm eating a ridiculous. Now, fun note, in the last like 14 days, I've eaten like 110,000 calories on this priming thing, and I've lost 8.5 pounds eating
Wow.
110,000 calories. So don't believe the calorie in, calorie out
Right.
hypothesis bull crap.
Right. Wow. Hey, shout out Steak and Butter Gang. Those guys are awesome. I've
They
heard
are.
nothing
Raymond's
but
my
good
coach.
things. If anyone out there is thinking of doing carnivore, I
Dude,
used to
I
be
got to tell you
cynical.
this. I got
Yeah.
to tell you this. It's been such a resource because I'm getting questions of things that I don't know how to answer. They're just way above my wheelhouse, you know? But it is so great to have a resource like the Steak and Butter Gang where I can say, look, I don't know the answer to that, but I know people that can really help you. And to get them over there and they have a free form, and then even if you do the paid one, it's only $1 a day, it's $30 a month, and the information that you get in there, they do like, I don't know, 7 to 10 Zoom calls a week, it seems like. And you can go in there and you hear from all the people that are going through the same things, and you have access to all the coaches, and you can get your questions answered all week long. Like, it is incredible. I just went over there because I wanted to learn more so I could answer people's questions. And then I got in there. I'm like, this place is fantastic. Where was this my whole time, you know?
I used to be cynical on the coaching. Like you just eat meat and water. Like, why do you need coaching? But I was totally wrong on that. You have to surround yourself by like-minded people. And that's one part of it, that community, because you're in a world with sugar and junk food and everyone around you. You're the weird one. But then also, Todd, I've heard the same thing from so many people about Steak and Butter Gang. It's just fantastic. And
It is.
quite a few people that thought they would have failed at Carnivore if not for the support of that group. So
I
huge,
believe
huge
it,
shout
man.
out to them.
I wish I would have found it earlier because I think I'd be a lot further along. They started answering questions that of things that I just thought I was crazy for thinking. Like I used to be like, oh, it's crazy to think that chicken's not good for me, that I'm getting sick on chicken. And then I find out there's like a whole bunch of people that get sick on chicken. Like I thought it was crazy. I used to be losing my eyebrows here on the side. They were gone and they all grew back, and I thought I was crazy when my eyebrows grew back. Turns out that's a whole insulin resistant thing, and that happens for a bunch. I mean, every time I'm in there, I get more information that explains something that I thought I was just dreaming stuff up, and it was real. You know?
Nice. Hey, shout out the carnivore mommy, Sherry. Hi from Wisconsin Dells. She's got a YouTube channel. She's great. She stopped into the theater today and we talked for like 2 hours. Love talking to carnivores at the movie theater. So, and
That's
she's coming
awesome.
out to our Chicago meetup in
That is
November.
awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Julie Morris, I have a suggestion for a money maker, a bacon grease canister with a catchy carnivore diet saying on the front. I'll definitely order one. All proceeds go to Carnivore Diet Movie. That's a cool idea. Thank you, Julie. I have to add that to the list. I really like that. And we almost have the name nailed down. There's a little sneak peek. We'll probably be announcing something really soon on that. So question from our good friend of the channel and an awesome individual, Nourishment Redacted, Ellie. Todd, what was your diet like when you were a child that led you to be obese? Any tips for parents who feed their kids this way now? I love to ask this question to spread awareness that kids don't
Yeah.
have to be sick.
Absolutely. It's pretty simple. We were super broke when I was a kid, so it was all processed cheap stuff. So it was like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It was like hot dogs and box macaroni and cheese, spaghetti, with just tomato soup for sauce, all that stuff. But the biggest one for me, 110%, was because we wouldn't eat breakfast. We'd usually eat some kind of small lunch, but dinner. We would eat this big, massive dinner. We'd all get together and it would be like frozen pizza or all this stuff. But we lived on soda all day long. Soda was our breakfast, it was our break, it was our lunch. It was just and it's my dad was drinking it, my mom was drinking it. Our whole family was soda addicts, and I drank all the calories for sure. I mean, when I was a kid, I got to a point where I was drinking like 24 cans of Coke a day, you
Mm.
know? So,
That that's a huge tip too for anyone. Man, that soda, liquid sugar like that, and calories. The human body just isn't designed to take that much sugar in liquid form. It's almost like the drug addict thing again. It's just like overdosing on a drug basically over and over again. So
yeah, I
I
mean, it's amazing. They say that the human body has something like 5 liters of blood in it, and uh, a perfectly metabolically healthy person will have 1 tablespoon of sugar in that 5 liters of blood. And if you double it to two, that's death. That means you're dead. You know,
Yeah.
it's a difference of 1 tablespoon.
Wow. My Radical Healing Rebellion. Carrie, I've been out of the loop for a few months. How do I become a member in order to access member only content? Right below the video, there's a little join button. You just press that. It's just a couple bucks a month. I really
Well
appreciate
worth
that.
it.
Yeah, we do. We're doing weekly members only live stream every Thursday at 3. I missed one of them, but I got the one last week. And then we've been doing a lot of members only content, like stuff we filmed with Maggie and shots and photos. And we're really expanding that when we go to Chicago for the meetup. Adam actually has a friend coming with. He's going to do a bunch of photographs and behind the scenes stuff. That's going to all be members only. So really appreciate that. Every penny from that goes to the Carnivore Diet documentary. Every penny from donations, super chats, all goes to the documentary. It's a passion project for sure. Uh, some other cool guys, Carnivore Brothers, who are coming out to the meetup as well. Childhood obesity is growing everywhere. Parents need to hear. I've been thinking a lot about how to handle Halloween, as I know it'll be horrible this year, knowing what I know now. Any ideas? Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah, man, to me it's just like it's really just about changing this thought that it's not, I look at this food now, I look at this candy, I look at this sugar, and for instance, in all these ups and downs that I had with the keto diet, I would clean out the cabinets and I would give all this crappy food to like my sister. And then I stopped doing that because I'm like, this is poison. And I'm not even, I would throw it away instead of giving it away to some family or something because I was like, this is poison. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you wouldn't want to see your kids get crack in a bucket on Halloween, then you shouldn't want to get them to, I think you're just going to have to pull off the band aid and, get over it. But I mean, that I look at that food now like it is literal poison.
Yep. Yeah, it's such a tough one with kids too. I saw someone else comment with an interesting one that they said have the kids bring the candy home so they still feel a part of it, but then bribe them with something else. Like, hey, give me all
Money.
that candy, I'll give you money or a video game or something. That I don't know if
That's a good
that's
idea.
yeah, that's something I'd probably try. And then
I would.
depending on how old the children are too, but I think Ellie was talking about this and Sherry today too. We were talking about teenagers and how hard it can be for them. Explain it to them. Just really explain. Look, this is what's going to happen if you eat this. You can have inflammation. You do it long enough, you can end up with cancer. These are the facts. Kids are smart. They're going to figure it out. A lot of times we just say don't do it, and then they're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
why don't I do it? But tell them why, and yeah, maybe bribe them with some money. That's my kids are too old. I don't think we're doing any more trick or treating. But if they were younger, I would probably go with that approach. I like
Yeah,
that one.
and in my life, I don't know. I'm just fine that now that I'm doing this and it's such a part of me too, it really does rub off on people because they see the effect, they see that it's completely genuine, and they see the results. And then it starts changing their mind. And I'm just wondering, if I don't have kids, but if I was just wonder, if you lead by example and they see you doing it at a certain point, it's got to make an impact on them too.
Yeah. And you got to be patient because I never in a million years would have thought my daughter Emma, who was a vegan for 5 years, would become carnivore. And people are like, "Oh, you're push." I did not push her at all. Out of the blue, she decided to do that, and it was because she saw my example and she saw how well I was doing. I think a lot of it subconsciously rubbed off on her because I watched nonstop carnivore content 24 hours a day, so some of that seeped in too. But she decided all on her own, and um, yeah, my other daughter too. Like it's took a long time, but it eventually happened. I've heard that story with other people too. So PA beater, I've been 10 weeks and still no ketosis. Very annoying.
Man, I feel your pain, but I think first of all, I would definitely use the blood meter. I feel like that's the most accurate.
Yes.
But then I would definitely start eliminating things, no matter how mundane it might feel. I mean, I had to get rid of black pepper, for crying out loud. So yeah, I mean, it's really crazy, but you're really gonna have to break it down and think about everything you're drinking, everything you're eating, and and also I had to before I really really got into deep ketosis. I had to start getting good sleep, and I found that was keeping me out of ketosis too. So, and electrolytes also were a big one for me. I had to really start hammering the electrolytes before for whatever reason before I got consistently into ketosis. So I would just say, strip it. I mean, maybe go a week just eating literally salt and beef and water, and taking your electrolytes, and try to get good sleep, to stay off your tablets and your phones and stuff before bed, and try to get good sleep and see where you're at in a week. That's
Yeah,
what I would do.
love it. I always tell people too. It sounds like it's so drastic. I did what Todd just said for 60 days. There's nothing special about me. I was doing carnivore before. The only difference was now I don't have bacon and eggs.
Right.
I love bacon and eggs, so it is a little tough. But really, going from no more bacon and eggs, now just beef, salt, and water. It's not that big of a change. I was stalled before I did that too, by the way, and the weight just started dropping off immediately. I've heard that story probably 1,000 times in the comments now. Everyone's saying I did that for not even doing lion, even just changing it, maybe doing a 2-day water fast. Changing something up seems to help. But I love Todd's point too. PA beater. A lot of people use those urine strips, and those things are not great. I have that Keto Mojo. I think that's the one Todd has. Or maybe it's a different brand, but the Keto Mojo is the one. They sell it on Amazon. You just prick your finger, and it's really really accurate. I used
Yeah.
to foolishly think I'm just eating meat and water. Why am I even going to test this? But like Todd said, sleep, electrolytes, exercise, different things you're doing can affect ketosis. So that's the best way to tell is get that Keto Mojo. That thing's great.
Yeah, but it is awesome.
I think you mentioned this earlier, but quick question from Julie: what is volcanic lemon juice?
It's just a type of organic lemon juice that they grow in Italy off of volcanic soil, and it just has more nutrients in it. I like it because it is the most lemony tasting lemon juice I've ever had in my life, and they also make really good lime juice too. And so I don't know why, that was just what Dr. Berg recommended. I have a grocery store here in my town called Rosaro's. I don't know if you have those out there, but they actually stock it in the store. If not, you can get it on Amazon.
Nice. All right, and then we got a new member. Thank you, Desert Flower, for becoming a member. Really appreciate that.
So,
And then we have a question from Undiagnosed Lioness. Question: I've been watching you, Todd, and Lindy. I know you are helping others. How does talking with Lindy help you?
oh, immensely. First of all, she's like a year ahead of me, so this I get to see my future. You know what I mean? And so it just keeps you laser focused. Plus, anybody that knows Lindy, she is just the most pleasant, helpful, cheerful, upbeat person. It's just been great. She introduced me to the steak and butter gang. She's just a really lovely person. She's got a great family. She's so helpful, and she's become a really really good friend, and it's just been helpful just to have. It's so weird because I never gave the community stuff, and like you were saying, the coaching stuff, I never put any weight into that, and I've kind of backed into it on this side, and now I'm realizing I was missing out. Like, it does a lot more for a guy than you think, so yeah, just her advice. She knows, she's been through things, especially with the lymphedema that I was struggling with. I didn't have any real handle on that. She's got great advice, and great to it's just great to have a support group, a team, that you can rely on. It's just great.
Yeah. She's a legend. That's what she was
She
on the
is.
she was on the I had her on the channel a while ago, and she was on the 10-hour live stream we did. And she said that was the first video she went on. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of crazy." And I remember it vividly. I said, "Your name should be Legendary Lindy because this is
Should be.
crazy the progress she had. She's just awesome."
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
check out her
super
channel
good.
too. Shout out all these channels for sure.
Yeah.
Limitless Lindy on YouTube. She's great. Julie Morris, what was the name of the group you said you belong to that is very helpful?
Steak and butter gang.
Yep, they are wonderful. And then we got a new member, Billy Lovelace. Thank you so much, Billy. Appreciate it. Um, let's see here. Awesome. I think we got all the questions.
Oh, awesome.
Man, Todd, this has been great. We got to do some more of these. I'd love to
Absolutely.
talk to you some more anytime. I always say this, but I've become best friends with everyone that's a carnivore, and I really like you. I've enjoyed talking to you. It's been great with the 24-hour live stream. So,
Yeah.
anything you ever need or anything, I'm here for you. I'm looking forward to following your story some more. I have no doubts whatsoever. You're just killing it, man. It's gonna be so
Oh,
crazy when you get down to your goal weight.
I can't wait. I'm gonna have some I can't wait first to get into the 300 club. I'm getting close. I'm gonna have a big episode on the 300 club, and then I'm gonna, I don't know, do a backflip or something when I get into the 200 club,
Right?
and then I am planning on getting skin surgery. So that's gonna be a big milestone. So I'm definitely looking forward to sharing that. But yeah, man, I love your show and everything you're doing for the community, man. You just it's just amazing. I know you invited me on a couple of times, kind of to get with you. I just didn't want to bug you because you're juggling so much. I'm like, I'm not gonna pressure that guy or put any weight on him. You got to be juggling so many things. It's crazy, but yeah, I mean, we all just appreciate the heck out of you, Carrie. I just got to let you know what you're doing is amazing. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, never hesitate to reach out. I'll tell you if I'm too busy. But yeah, lately it's been really crazy. But I want to just keep the momentum going for the documentary, and I just keep sharing stories like yours because it's just incredible. It's
yeah,
so incredible too. Like, man, just congratulations because you like backed into car. You had to figure this all out on your own and backed into it. Now you're changed your life forever because of it. It's just
and you know
amazing.
what? Thank God that I did, because had somebody told me what ketosis was and brought it up to me like a fad diet, I probably wouldn't have tried it. But I felt ketosis before I heard about ketosis, and that's why I was all in. I was like, I felt this. This happened to me. This is real, you know. So it's real blessing that it happened the way it did in my mind when I think about it. Because if somebody would have told me, I was like, yeah, what? That's like the last 10,000 crazy diets, you know.
Right. Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Todd. Thank you everyone for joining us. This has been great. And I got to do a meetup out there in Montana sometime. That's some beautiful country. I'll
Yeah,
have to
I was
see.
gonna say you guys gotta come by on the 4th of July. You guys don't know it, but I have a fireworks business and we put on one heck of a 4th of July
Ooh,
show.
that sounds like fun.
Our private show is bigger than the city. It's the biggest show pretty much in the state of Montana. Actually, is our private show. So and we have to do a huge barbecue. We got a 500-gallon propane tank that we turned into a smoker. So we do briskets and
Ooh,
ribeyes and tomahawks. You guys will have to come out. That'd be awesome.
yeah, you got me at ribeye. I'm there. But seriously though, I'd love to do that sometime. That sounds like a lot of fun for
Yeah.
sure. Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd. Everyone, check out Todd's channel. Link in the description below. And thank you guys so much for the super chats and the memberships and all that. We really appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Have a great night. Appreciate it.